Yesterday, the World Bank issued a report warning of a possible global recession. And experts say green energy policies that are currently in vogue are going to result in rolling blackouts around the country this summer. Joining us now to discuss is the president of the Heartland Institute, James Taylor. Thanks for being here tonight, James.
Thanks for having me on, Kara.
Great. So recession seems imminent. What does that mean for the average American, and how might we prepare for that?
Well, it means a lot of unnecessary economic pain. This is something that we knew was coming, especially when we were pursuing, we being the Biden administration, the U.S. federal government, and many state governments, pursuing policies to deliberately increase the price of energy and restrict the availability of American-produced oil, coal, and natural gas. We go begging for these products from Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, and Iran, and yet at the same time, we're stifling our own production at home. It's a sad, sad result.
It is, and now we're seeing this higher ethanol blend, and many say, even many Republicans will say that perhaps it can help farmers at the same time as lower gas prices. Do you think we'll see either of those results?
No, ethanol, as you mentioned in the introduction to the segment, it has less energy than gasoline. So really, even if you're paying, let's say gasoline is $6 a gallon, which it is here in Chicago, for you to get the same amount of mileage as gasoline, you'd have to be paying $4 per gallon or less for ethanol. It may appear to be less expensive, but it won't drive your car as far. It won't take it as far. At the same time, even if someday the price of ethanol really was so low that it would trade off with gasoline, right now we're dedicating 40% of the American corn crop to ethanol. That has a tremendous effect on food prices because with more scarce food, with more of our crop going to energy rather than food prices rise.
And now we saw Senator Stabenow. I know we could say, she's just out of touch with reality, with what the average American is feeling right now when they go to get gas. As you were saying, about $6 in your area. It's same thing here in Southern California, though I am starting to see in my own area it's getting closer to $7. And I know we have, I think, an expected gas hike with more taxes that were pre-planned. Of course, California's not going to stop that. They love taxes. And so I think that goes into effect next month. So I am not looking forward to that. But I think perhaps maybe the bigger point with the senator is that she almost looks at like it's our fault that we haven't, gotten the message, the memo, and that we are as, highfalutin as she is with her fancy new electric vehicle. And it's almost that it's our fault that we've fallen behind, I guess, in this great transition period that the Biden administration wants to move us away from fossil fuels and towards whatever their strange new green energy deal feature would be. Do you think perhaps that's kind of where she's coming from, that she can look down her nose at all of us who are being really hurt by these prices?
Well, she's crawling out of the clown car of idiotic energy policy. Listen, it costs more than 50% more for an electric vehicle than for a conventional vehicle. At the same time, if we were to electrify the transportation grid, which is what the Biden administration, what Stabenow advocates, that would increase demand on U.S. electricity by 50%. Energy economists and energy engineers are telling us we are facing rolling blackouts this summer because we don't have enough electricity. We don't have enough in the grid. What if we're going to increase demand 50%? That makes things even worse. And finally, if we are going to rely on wind power and solar power, the cobalt, the lithium, the rare earth elements, and the manufactured products themselves almost all come from overseas and primarily from China. Don't think for a minute that we're going to be free from international turmoil. In fact, we're going to be more dependent on hostile nations if we transform our economy to wind and solar power.
Now, that's an excellent point you make there, especially with what we see going on with Taiwan right now and China breathing down their necks quite heavily, as we've seen in recent months, quite especially. I also want to go back to that soundbite we played earlier with the Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, opining, as she always does, on climate and the global warming and everything else that they like to talk about. What's your reaction to some of what she was discussing?
It's more from the crazy clown car. And when she talks about being dependent upon American energy sources and the resiliency, first of all, wind and solar power don't respond to consumer demand. We cannot wish for the sun to shine more often or for there to be fewer clouds. We cannot wish away any of the impediments for wind power as well. We cannot wish more stronger winds to blow. We're only going to have so much. And the reason why we're facing energy shortages this summer, and mark my words, we are going to have rolling blackouts in this country, it's because the Biden administration is deliberately shutting down nuclear, coal, and natural gas power plants.
And like you were saying earlier, this isn't some hypothetical that we're saying, oh, it could maybe happen this way. We've seen it play out already in countries like Germany, where a lot of their shortfalls from some of this wind and solar has to be met with coal, actually. And also we see it in California as well, as you were mentioning earlier. We used to be one of the biggest oil producing states in this nation, and perhaps even leading in the world. And now look at us. We're closing down all of that. We're even closing down nuclear, as you were saying. And now look what we're facing with. We see the rolling blackouts in California. You always see those road signs on the highway saying conserve water, conserve electricity, conserve, 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 because we don't have enough of it to go around. And it's not because it's not there. You know, fossil fuels, they're great, they're there, they're cheap, easy, reliable. It's just that the government powers that be are really constricting a lot of those supplies. But James, it's really been a pleasure having you on tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Kara.